welcome to another episode of Toby's Barbecue Corner. Today we're making one of the easiest, most succulent lamb stews that you can think of, and it has a nice Italian twist. So what you need for it and how to do it, I'm going to show you in this episode. And this is what we need for today. Now obviously we need some lamb, and this is a whole lamb shoulder, but I've asked my butcher to remove the bone already for me. Then what else do we need? We need some olive oil, we need some olives, we need some canned tomatoes, you need some pepper, you need a bread, either a baguette or a ciabatta, you need some potatoes, you need a couple of onions, and loads of fresh rosemary. Now, as per usual, let's get the cutting out of the way. So what you want to do is, obviously, you want to double check that your butcher did a good job and removed all the cartilage, all the bone and whatnot. So just have a look at all these little crevices, if there's anything left that you might not want to have or that you don't want to eat, but he did quite a good job. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a sharp knife and then we're going to cut it into about 3 by 3 centimeter thick pieces, because obviously that will melt down considerably when we put it in the Dutch oven. Also, in the meantime, I've put a pot with hot water on the stove, put a little bit of salt in it, and we're going to boil those potatoes first, and then later we're going to roast them with fresh rosemary. So next, what you want to do is you want to take some of that rosemary, and just strip it just like that off the stem, and then we're going to be using that in the Dutch oven pretty much immediately from the very first go. Now let's take care of the olives. Now they still have the stone in it, and I actually prefer it that way because all you can do is you use a little ramekin just like that, you squeeze them a little bit, and the stone or the seed comes out. Now the reason why I prefer it that way is I find they tend to retain a lot more flavor when they're left whole and in the jar or in the can, rather than already having their stone or their seed removed, and then they lose a lot in that liquid that they're being stored in. So I prefer it that way, but it's entirely up to you. So whatever you want to do, by all means go for it. And lastly, you want to take care of your onions. Now traditionally this dish calls for those small pickled onions, those white pickled onions. They come in a jar, but I couldn't get my hands on any. And as all the shops are closed for today, I didn't bother to try it again. But you can use regular onions as well. Now you don't have to chop them up fine, because obviously they will cook for about 2 hours. So they will become nice and soft, so you don't have to worry about it. So what I suggest that you do is you basically just cut them up into rough chunks, just like that, and that ought to do it. The Dutch oven is getting up to temperature, so let's use some olive oil. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw in our rosemary first, and that will add a lovely base flavor to our dish. Give that a lovely coating, make sure that it's spread out evenly and everywhere. And we're going to leave that in for just a few minutes. About a minute in, you can tell that the rosemary is releasing all these lovely flavors, so just make sure that you move it around a little bit so it doesn't get burned. And then we're going to remove the rosemary already and start searing the meat. Now with the meat, obviously if you have a lot of meat, give it some time, give them some space, because you want to sear it and not braise it or broil it so to speak, but you really want to give it some good color. So if need be, do it in multiple settings, so to speak. Right, our meat has gotten some good color, and we're now going to season it with a little bit of salt. And now you don't need any salt because the olives are already very salty. So all we need to do is now throw in all the rest of the ingredients. So in with the onions, in with the olives, as well as our canned tomatoes. And about 2 cans of water. Give it a good stir, and then we're going to close it up and cook it for about 2 hours at 170 degrees. Now you can obviously do that in your oven as well, so that's why this dish is really great. Even if you don't have a barbecue that would hold a Dutch oven. And then what I recommend is, after about an hour, you check if you have enough liquid inside, and if you don't, just top up with some water or maybe some lamb stock if you have. And then what I like to do is, remember our little rosemary. Now I like to throw in about half right now. The other half will keep for later on, but that will obviously add to the flavor as well. Now we're going to cover this up, and as I said, 2 hours at 170 degrees. The Dutch oven is sitting nicely in the barbecue at 170 degrees. The potatoes have basically been pre-cooked, so what you want to do is, I like to leave the skin on because we're now going to give them a bit of a roast. So what I like to do is I cut them in half, and then I cut them into little chunks like that, maybe like in 3s, maybe in 4s, depending on how large or small you like them. And then we're just going to put them on a baking tray, and we're going to cover them with a little bit of olive oil and use the rest of the rosemary on top. Right, all cut up and nicely presented. So let's take some olive oil and just give every piece of potato a little bit of a drizzle so that the rosemary can really nicely stick to it and they have a chance to brown. And then, as previously, you just take the rosemary and you just sprinkle it on the top. And depending on how much rosemary you have, you don't even have to worry about ripping off those individual little leaves, so to speak, but keep them whole. They will distribute together with the olive oil a lovely flavor into those potatoes. All done, and now they go in the oven for about 15 minutes at 220 degrees. Right guys, 2 hours are up, and let me tell you, it smells like rosemary, it smells like tomatoes. The potatoes are almost done, so let's have a quick look. And wow guys, doesn't that look amazing? Now we're gonna plate up, I'm gonna show you the final product, and then we're gonna dig in. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the lamb stew video with an Italian twist. Now, it was super delicious. The rosemary really came all the way through. It had a lovely Italian feeling to it, with the olives as well. So yeah, overall it was a lovely, lovely dish. Now, if you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate a comment and a thumbs up. Please head over to that subscribe button for more great videos to come, and I hope to see you soon again at Toby's Barbecue Corner.